Welcome back to Just Jossin, everyone. We are doing a mini-sode. I am one half of your host, Sabrina Hannon.
And I'm Jasmine Herron. We are recapping season 3 of Buffy this week before moving on to our new special kind of like split episodes where we're going to be discussing Buffy and then Angel, and then Buffy and then Angel, and we'll just kind of branch out.
Yeah, and it'll also be different because it'll be one episode of either Buffy or one episode of Angel per one episode of Just Jossin. So our episodes will be a little bit shorter and more doable for everyone. So if you're someone who really enjoys long episodes,
We'll only
sorry.
do those when there's a Buffy Angel crossover.
Yes. And I want to apologize ahead of time. Both Jasmine and I are experiencing some sinus issues because weather. Even though we're in two completely different states, we're both just like, my face. So heads up on that.
You'll see us like leave the screen, come back.
No. Pay no attention to that. We're fine, mostly. So yeah, we're going to give out some superlative type stuff and just have some fun with this episode. So starting off with our imaginary superlative, who would you say, I think this is obvious for this, but the couple of the season of Buffy we'll go with.
Oh my goodness, definitely Willow and Oz.
Right?
Definitely Willow and Oz. Including the fact that, like, I mean, Willow cheats on Oz, and yet they still have like the healthiest relationship.
Yeah.
Really and truly, it falls on Oz to have the emotional maturity where, you know, he throughout the entire arc is like, you know, I want to be with you because I want to be with you, but I'm also going to take care of my own emotions. When they break up or when they have time apart because she cheated on him, he did, you know, take the time to think about whether or not he could forgive her.
Yes.
And it wasn't just, oh, let me take you back because I love you so much. He had to think about it. And then he also took things slow with her afterwards. He didn't use her infidelity as a weapon against her to get ahead in the relationship.
Yeah, and also I feel like Oz deserves some sort of saint award because he also managed to like still be around Xander, and at no point do you see him like just standing behind him getting ready to strangle him.
Yep.
Which, I mean, not many people would blame him for doing. Other than the fact that he, you know, unless he was in werewolf form at the time, because that's cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And this, of course, is just looking at, so anything that we're talking about in this season has to do with only things that have happened up to the end of season 3, nothing going forward. No spoilers. So,
I mean, we'll spoil later, but yes.
yeah. I mean, this entire this entire podcast is basically spoilers.
Yes.
um,
I know some podcasts are like, we're spoiler free, and we're like, all the spoilers, watch everything, otherwise we're gonna spoil you.
Yeah.
You have had at this point 20 years to watch the show.
More than 20, because it was just Angel's 20th.
Yep.
And I got to go to that Comic-Con and get my picture taken with the cast of Angel minus David Boreanaz.
In the before times?
Hmm?
In the before times?
In the before times, before COVID times, yes. I got to stand right next to Spike. It was one of the greatest moments of my life. So let's see. So yes, I definitely agree. They're the only couple that makes it out of this season intact. And even if they weren't, still, like, they have the healthiest relationship. They are relationship goals. Yeah, it's hands down Willow and Oz. Who would you say is the most changed?
Faith? Like, she just took a very drastic path downward. The mayor, he turned into a giant snake.
I would also add Angel into that because he has a personality here.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but until Angel turned into Unjealous, he had no personality. He
Right?
was just like a piece of cardboard that looked pretty. Um,
I mean,
yeah,
they really had to give him this personality now before doing the spin-off. Because
please
no one
want to
would have,
watch the show?
yeah, no one would follow Angel if it was just Angel David Boreanaz being a pretty piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he has a personality. It's an intriguing one. Still not like now at least we know why Buffy would want to date him other than him being pretty. But yeah, he has a personality. He has some jokes going. I appreciate that. Took him, over 200 years to get a personality, but it's here now.
yep.
Um, so I would add him into that conversation. Um, the mayor, I mean, he was always on the trajectory to become a giant worm demon.
Yeah. For over 100 years, he was on that trajectory.
Yeah, he just
Um,
accomplished his goals.
maybe Joyce. Maybe Joyce is the most changed.
I mean, she's done a lot of emotional growth. Um, Quite a bit of that I think happened in season 2,
Mm,
right?
no, I mean season
Some
two.
of it.
The end of season 2 is her saying, "You walk out that door, you
Oh,
never."
that's right. I'm thinking yeah.
Like this is a huge. This is her wanting her daughter back, struggling with the identity of her daughter, going through gingerbread, and then
Nearly murdering her daughter. Yes.
Amy went through a lot of changes this season.
Yeah, one in particular.
Um,
Uh,
a lot of people changed this season.
yeah, Xander.
Physical forms as well as emotional forms. Cordelia changes as well.
Yeah,
Like, we do see a lot of change in Cordelia emotionally. We see a huge change in Xander emotionally.
thank God.
Um, Willow as well. Willow also kind of comes into her own. And
Giles.
we start to see that at the end of season 2, but there's a huge change in
Mhm.
this. And then of course we can go through all the Scoobies and talk about the growth and the change that they've had. I just I really find it amazing how much they pack into one season. If you think about it, like,
Mhm.
we don't really see the Watchers Council before this season,
Nope.
and then all of a
But
sudden we get Gwendolyn Post, and then we get um
2 dead now British guys.
yep the guys that lock her in the room for her 18th birthday,
Mhm.
firing of Giles, and then the bringing in of Wesley Wyndham Price. And that's all this season. So we've
Yep.
got the overbearance of the Watchers Council,
And
and then
that's not even the main plot line either. But yeah, there's a lot that happens season 3. I think that's why it's one of like most people will identify it as their favorite or one of their favorite seasons. Did you hear
sorry,
that?
yeah, that was
Okay.
me. I I specifically, like, one, I closed Messenger on my computer, and yet it's still.
I have things to say.
Yeah, I silenced my phone, I silenced it on my computer, and then it opened up Messenger on my computer to be like, someone's messaging you.
This is important, I swear. Cat meme.
Yeah, pretty much. um,
Um yeah, everyone this season I think I won't say it has the most growth for our characters because that's not entirely true. but it's the first one that has so much growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so much happens in this season that literally earlier and like while recording this, I was just like, oh no, that happened in season 2. No, Sabrina, this is just a dense season.
It's a very dense season. And,
Mm-hmm.
and also, I mean, we get introduced to people that stay throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
We get introduced to the first evil, which is the entirety of season 7, basically,
Yep.
is introduced in just a one-off episode here.
Yep. We get Anya. We
Yep.
get Faith.
Yep.
We get Wesley. I mean, who will be big in Angel, not so much in Buffy. But I mean, all of these things, all of these people show up and they're here to stay. Like they're going to leave a mark. Even Amy as a rat is a big deal.
Yep. Jonathan.
Jonathan, yeah, like someone you wouldn't think of. I mean, Jonathan's been around before. But we see him quite a bit. And I get kind of excited now rewatching. It's just like, oh, look, there's Jonathan. Look at
Uh-huh.
him getting his little development.
Yep.
And sadly, we lose Larry.
We lose Larry.
I'm very sad about that. I wish they would have kept Larry around.
Yep.
I get that someone had to die that the audience would care about.
Mm-hmm.
But did it have to be the one gay character?
I know. And I mean, like, Harmony dies, but
Yeah, but
we
not
see
really.
her again.
And so she's someone who will have a big transformation next season.
Mm-hmm.
I just also feel that her becoming, so spoiler, her becoming a vampire and who that vampire is if Harmony the human was a vampire. Like she was
Yep.
born that way, basically. That's who she was born to be, a vampire.
Uh-huh. And I mean, really, like, Harmony is right up to the final episode of Angel.
Yeah. Yeah. Blondie Bear? That is my favorite Harmony line ever. Just her
Blondie Bear?
yelling Blondie Bear in Angel. Yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
So, who do you think had the better father-daughter relationship? Giles and Buffy, or Mayor Wilkins and Faith?
I will say Giles and Buffy because it's a purer relationship. He's not pushing her towards evil. And theirs is a more equal relationship. Whereas the mayor and Faith, there's the problem of he is, pushing her to do evil, and be his minion. So problem there. And he's also pushing her to be a little girl, which I mean she's never had, but also that's a problem when Faith, we're gonna assume she's about Buffy's age. She's probably about 18. Like that's a little weird. Yeah, I'm going to go with Giles and Buffy.
So, one of the things that I found interesting is that in my senior year of high school, I really felt the chafing of my parents while I was trying to become independent, where I was trying to take more independence and responsibility in my life, and my parents were still trying to, I guess, like dictate what I was supposed to do or how I was supposed to act. And I felt like this was echoed with the Watchers Council's treatment of Buffy.
Mm-hmm.
And then also how Giles, they say he has a fatherly love for her, but he starts treating her like an adult. Like, he is the one that is treating her appropriately as she is spreading her wings, where the Watchers Council is still trying to stop her from growing up. And I felt kind of the same way about Mayor Wilkins and Faith. He cheered her on towards the dark side, but he still wanted to dictate her path for her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he commands her a bit like a dog.
Mm-hmm.
like in the scene where she wants to go get her knife
Yeah.
in the cafeteria. Um, Giles does not do that to Buffy. You know, I don't think even when he started with her, even when she was going like a little crazy with her slaying, getting out, whatever, he just sat back down with his tea and he was like, well, this will be over at some point.
Uh-huh.
Like that's just who Giles is. Now had the mayor not been, even if the mayor had not been evil, um Buffy and Giles still would have had a more healthy relationship. However, that doesn't mean that the mayor and Faith would have had a bad relationship.
Well, I just really liked all the times where he was like, let's go for miniature golf. Let's go get like, frozen
I
yogurts. Let's go
and
like
icy, yeah.
an icy, and Giles, when he finds out that Angel broke up with Buffy, he's like, I understand, this calls for ice cream.
Hmm.
And she's like, yeah. So he makes the overtures, but Mayor Wilkins is just like, hey, father-daughter bonding time. Let's go play miniature golf. And I do not see Giles playing miniature golf with Buffy.
Oh, but I would love to see that. Can you just see him like cursing at this thing, like bloody ball? Why do you Americans do this?
Well, Scottish people and English people do it too.
But they don't mini golf. I think it's like golf, not the bastardized version that we have.
Okay, probably.
Americans are just like, oh, that looks real hard. Let's put a windmill in there. That'll be cute.
Or that really annoying like clown.
Yeah. The thing is, too, what's interesting about that is, so it's always been remarked by how, like, America is much larger than both England and Scotland. Like, we have much more land. Our homes are much more spread out, yada, yada. Um, so what do we do to the one sport that, like, takes up a ton of space, being golf? We miniaturize it, and we're like, no, this is just going to take a small chunk of land. We need that land over there just to be grass. That is my rant. I am done.
So who was your favorite monster of this season?
I mean, the mayor is obviously, he's my favorite villain of all time, in Buffy. Um, if we're talking secondary, monsters, I love Trick. Like, Trick is so fun. He's a great vampire. I just love the scenes with him. It was sad that he had to die, but clearly he had to die.
Mm,
But yeah, I really enjoyed Trick. How
Like
about yourself?
if I'm talking about villains,
Mhm.
yes, I love Trick and yes, I love the mayor. If I'm thinking about like monster, I really love the little kids turning into one giant ugly thing in gingerbread and where he's like, protect me.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it doesn't work when you're not two cute little kids anymore.
Hmm.
Like, I love, there's so many monsters that were just really fun. I did not like Coquistos or Kissing Toes. I felt like one, it was preying upon society's issue with fat people, but
Are you confusing?
or
Quistos is
no, sorry, I'm confusing Coquistos with what's his name? The
in the tub.
yep,
I always think of Star Wars with him, and I don't know why.
because he looks like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh goodness, what is his name? That one is it? It's not Balthazar, is it?
I think so. It's the mayor's like arch nemesis that
Uh-huh.
they accidentally take care of for him, who has a little cult.
Yep. And but yeah, it's Balthazar.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I really I don't like him. I don't like the whole tub electrocution like weirdness thing. Um, I felt like, the makeup artists were like, what can we do to just make someone be disgusting? Well, let's make them be fat. Um, but who did I love? Again, I love the gingerbread monster. Um, I love these sisters from the Zeppo. The
Oh, yes. Hmm.
like the scene where like they're running around chasing the zombies.
Hmm.
Um, oh, you know what? I take back Trick as my favorite secondary villain. You know who's my second? Dark Willow. Or
Oh, yes.
Vamp Willow.
Is she really a villain?
No.
She's a little bit of an anti-hero. I mean, look at what she helps Willow out in that Percy situation.
It's true.
Dark Willow is just so great. I mean, she's an MVP.
Yeah.
I think she honestly helps Willow grow a little bit.
Well, yeah, I agree. I agree. and and foreshadows some of what we'll see next season with Willow's growth.
And what we'll see for many seasons. I mean, this Dark Willow will pale in comparison to Dark Willow.
Yes. Vamp Willow versus Dark Willow. Oh dear.
Very different. Um, and it's funny because as um like her outfit, like them paling really like, whiting out Allison Hannigan's skin and putting the black outfit on her, her hair like pops.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous. Yes. What so out of the new characters we're introduced to that stick around,
Uh-huh.
I know who you're gonna say, but who would you say is your favorite?
Okay, so who are we considering? We're considering, I mean, Faith doesn't really, she does kind of. Faith stick
Faith
around.
counts. Faith counts. Anya counts. Wesley counts.
Okay, then I'm definitely going to say Faith.
Yeah, I knew
Um,
you would.
but followed closely by Anya, who just I
I love Anya.
love. And I just have this special place in my heart for Faith. She was the cool bad girl that I wanted to be when I was younger, and the disaffected, you know,
Mm.
kind of like she had the armor that I wish I had because I was a Willow and I didn't have armor. And
For me, it's 100% Anya. Like I love Anya so much. Um, and I love the journey we go on with her and her
mm,
fear of bunnies. Like she's just and the actress does such a great job portraying someone who, after being alive for forever, is shoved into a teenage body and has to figure out human emotions.
yeah.
Like it's just so fun, and they do so many fun things with Anya. Even in this, like the scenes with her and Xander are gold, like
Mm.
pure gold.
And I mean, yeah, Emma Caulfield really plays like awkward learning to be a human again very well.
Hmm. Yeah, and her and so a spoiler on this, I realize in the I'm like, there'll be no spoilers for the rest of the seasons in this episode. But her and Xander are perhaps my favorite couple of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just really enjoy who they help each other become and just like who they are together. Mainly it's the musical episode. And that song, but I just love them.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, long-term relationships, they really do have very at some points realistic challenges
Hmm.
beyond she's a demon,
Hmm.
he's a human, like actual, emotional development. And
Yeah, and like even I mean things are relatable too. When even stuff about their wedding and like they're having their families meet each other. Like I know plenty of people who have had that problem of like, well, my family is, a bunch of drunk assholes. Well, my family is a bunch of racists. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't going to go well.
yep.
Um, so it's it's taking what Joss Whedon and his writers are so good at, are taking very real life situations and making them somewhat comical by making, you know, someone a demon in it, or like adding that supernatural element.
Yes. Yep.
But it's the very much so the Scooby-Doo thing of you pull away the mask and it's a human who's been causing all the problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
You say that, and I just watched the Scooby-Doo episode of Supernatural yesterday. So, so my mind also went there.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say is the most athletic?
The most
Buffy.
athletic?
Other than Buffy, someone who doesn't have superhero.
Giles? Of the Scoobies?
I
Like,
would say Xander just because of that swim team thing. He
I
made
mean,
the swim team. Or maybe Cordelia, because she's
Cordelia. Like, hang on a second. She is a cheerleader, and they are not just like shake pom pom cheerleaders. They are incredibly athletic. Like,
mhm,
yeah.
cheerleaders. Yeah, I would say also that gives Cordelia the most school spirit,
Mm-hmm.
because that is her extracurricular job, is to have school spirit.
Yep.
Um. Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking about Willow, and like, I don't think Willow's athletic at all, but she uses her brain power and her witch power to actually be the strongest fighter in the group when it comes to, oh, hey, she uses magic at this point to like float a pencil to
Mhm.
kill a vampire.
Yep. Yeah. Willow is definitely would be voted most likely to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. She was most likely the class Victorian, valedictorian rather. Um, Not that we get to see that, but I mean, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody that would have been a competition basically just dies.
Yeah, well, the one guy didn't die. Well, he might be dead after graduation. The science guy,
Yeah,
because he doesn't die in his episode,
no.
and in that unofficial yearbook that they put out for Sunnydale High, he is in it. You know what? I should probably like buy that thing just so I can see, like, because I would think it would have the actual superlatives and if Willow is the valedictorian.
Ooh, I didn't even realize there was one. There's
There
a
was. I don't know how easy it is to get your paws on it now, but they did put one out back in the day.
And it's an unofficial yearbook or a
Um, I believe it's an unofficial yearbook, but
okay.
it's referenced frequently. Um, yeah. So at this point, who whose storyline are you most excited to see continue?
Willows. Willows.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like all of them, I'm excited to see continue. I'm excited to see what happens with Anya as Anya continues to be a human. I'm excited for Xander's growth beyond high school. Um, but truly, I mean, even way back, like I said, I have a special place in my heart for Faith because she was who I wanted to be, but who I felt I was Willow. And I also feel like I kind of blossomed in university. And so I like seeing her blossom also in terms of sexuality. So
You were a little more keyed in to your sexuality earlier though than Willow was.
like a year and a half earlier, maybe. Yeah. It was my senior year of high school where I had the great question of, oh my goodness, I think I like women. And I thought that I'd had such a bad breakup that like I'd been turned off of guys, and and it wasn't. It doesn't work that
Yeah. I I don't, yeah, because like for as long as I've known you, I don't ever remember not knowing or at least thinking that you liked girls. So, so and that was my freshman year. So you were a junior at that point.
Mhm.
But I just might have thought that. You might not have thought that yet.
Well, actually, I think you're right. I think it was my junior because my sophomore year, I was dating a boy in my sophomore year. And then my junior year, between my sophomore and junior year, he broke up with me. And then okay, yep, we're
Okay.
correct, madam.
I'm glad that I'm more up on your sexuality timeline than you are. But I mean, it was easier for me to know just because of, I know when I met you.
Yes. But I mean, it was a big dilemma for me mentally. And then um I I was outed, but I wasn't outed to my parents until my freshman year of college. And when I was outed to my parents, there was a whole low back, or I wasn't allowed back at the house. Like, it took a while for everybody to adjust. Everybody did. It was great. But I do remember like being in high school and having a lot of like, you know, my friends can know, but my parents cannot.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that being a thing.
I mean, it was hard enough getting my parents to let me date a boy. So,
I think even my mom knew um long before your parents did.
oh yes. But I think your mom knew a lot about me more than my parents.
Yeah, yeah. I think my mother was that way for a lot of people, so um
Growing up, I had very conservative, valued parents. Politically, they were both very like liberal democratic, but personally conservative valued.
mhm.
Now that I'm an adult, I am amazed at how much they have progressed and grown and learned and actively sought to grow and learn. And
I'm surprised as it is well.
but
Specifically, like I'm very impressed, like not that your mother hasn't gone on quite the journey, but your father specifically, like
oh, I mean, yeah, it's amazing, and I kind of want to be able to reach out to like some of the students that I was working with when I was working in universities, who are like, I have to cut off my parents, I can never have a relationship with them again, sort of thing, and being like, maybe for right now, but that doesn't have to be your future.
mhm,
Like, that doesn't have to be forever because people are people and people do change,
mhm.
and or rather, people can change.
They have to want to, certainly.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, and I think it's very different. Like for some people who experience, your parents were already socially liberal. They
Hmm.
already had that. I think if they had also been like conservative all the way across the board,
Hmm.
it would have been a much longer journey and it might not have been a journey that happened.
Yeah.
Um, I, that's my 2 cents because they have to have it coming from somewhere. Like there has to be an influence or something in their brain already
Yeah.
that is like capable of putting the pieces together.
Yeah. I mean, I think about like, because my dad has always been incredibly into education, and my mom's family was also incredibly into education, even though my grandparents were, I mean, like a foundry worker and like a factory, like, you know,
Mhm.
they they were working class, no, nothing greater than maybe high school education or secondary for the UK, but they pushed their kids to go further. And I do think that having education, higher education, makes you more willing to accept new information.
Mhm.
Um, and so even though my mom grew up in a time where it was illegal to be homosexual, and my dad grew up in a country where a lot of the religion as well as the social it was not okay to be homosexual, they came to the States, and like my dad really did he tried to westernize,
Mhm.
and he did westernize, and I think that's amazing. And I don't think it was easy. And I think that my dad went through his own Anya moments.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I can see that. Yeah. And it's funny because like my mother was always very open-minded with some things. Like she was a um her background was definitely more conservative, but she herself, like she was a hippie. She was like rode motorcycles. She did a lot of drugs. Like in the 60s, well, in the 70s and the 60s, she would have been too little, but in the 70s, um, and like she raised me basically by herself. I mean, my parents were divorced since I was 2. Um, so it was very much so like an open door information policy between us. She was very she always wanted me to be able to come to her and ask questions and stuff like that. Um, that being said, I feel like as I got older, she got more conservative in the things that she thought. Um, so that was interesting. Like, not that she traveled backwards, she just more like stopped growing at a point.
Well, oh, okay. And this is great because I actually want to talk about that, about how as people get older, what start off as small personality quirks
Hmm.
turn into full eccentricities.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot in the elderly, where someone who might have been like a little fastidious has now become completely, like obsessive compulsive about their organization or about the way that things have to be. Someone who might hold on to some things goes full-blown hoarder. um you know
Word.
but and so we have at this point 3 examples in this season of people who have lived over 100 years. So we have the mayor,
Hmm.
he's become very like eccentric about cleanliness and germ warfare, and then also propriety, what is appropriate and what is not. We have Angel, who, becomes very disconnected from the
Hmm.
world and does not share emotions and feelings readily. He becomes very reticent. And then we have Anya, who is just, and she's also not been connected with humans, but she's lived for thousands of years, and she has no filter
Yeah.
whatsoever.
She's like a baby.
Well, but I mean, I wouldn't say she's like a baby. I would.
Like a toddler in like in that they're, and I say that because of her like wonder of things and how they work. The no filter is definitely like an older woman who just doesn't give a shit anymore. But Anya, her wonder with the world is like a toddler. And
Mhm.
like, how do humans work like this? Da, 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 da. Like, um, I that reminds me of like a young toddler, not someone who's been around for so long and has seen people and how they work and needs these things explained to them.
Well, I mean, so I used to work in an assisted living facility back in high school, and we would have some older women. Or so it was predominantly older women. I think there were only like 3 gentlemen in the entire facility at any given time.
I bet they
Um,
were hot commodities.
and they were hot commodities. um, but yeah, there were certain women who just kind of, and maybe it was dementia coming to play, but it was a wonder. Every single day was a wonder. But they also were very, this is what I want. This is what I want because I want it.
Hmm.
I've lived too long to beat around the bush, so let's do this thing.
I feel like I'm at that stage now and I'm 33.
Yep.
Although the pandemic has aged us all.
Yes. Yes.
We'll all have social skills like Anya at the end of this.
Forgetting
Just,
how to people.
yeah, just do this. You're being stupid.
You're being stupid, but I like you. Be my friend.
Yeah. What do you mean we're not going to kiss? That'll be us all.
So do you have any other superlatives you want to talk about?
Well, I feel like Faith would obviously get most likely to be arrested or something like that, or like like some of them are very obvious, like most likely to succeed, most musical, yada yada. I was actually, so I had quickly like grabbed a yearbook and I was paging through it trying to find superlatives, and I could not for the life of me find the list that they have in the yearbook I happened to grab. Oh, wait, I just saw, dang it. Hang on. Obviously, class protector is Buffy.
Yep.
Can you imagine if that was an actual award that like high school students got?
Class clown, Xander.
Yeah. Although we know he doesn't get it in Buffy and he's very upset about it. Ooh, best dressed.
Cordelia.
I never liked Cordelia's outfits.
Oh,
I always, so my ideal wardrobe is some of Faith, some of Willow, and some of Buffy.
Yeah.
Put in a blender and mixed. It's funny, because I've noticed watching the season that I had pieces of Faith's wardrobe in my high school wardrobe.
Yep.
And Willow, I would like some of the stuff she wore now.
Yes. Some of the stuff that Willow wore, I would wear now.
Yeah.
Cannot pull off the Faith look anymore. Could, but only weighed 105 pounds. And I did have some of, Faith / Buffy type wardrobes back then.
Yeah. Class inseparables, I think, would be Buffy and Willow.
Mm-hmm.
I love their friendship. Though that is actually, of the whole series, that is my favorite relationship. Mm-hmm. Buffy and Willow. They never leave each other.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, they have their spats every once in a while, but they always work their way back to each other.
And that's how friendship or any relationship is. Like, you're not going to agree with someone 100% of the time, as we've seen on this podcast.
Yes.
What do you mean?
I disagree.
Violently. There are some, like, there's most mechanical. I don't remember voting on that in high school.
I don't either.
Yeah. That might, same thing with most heroic. This is the yearbook that came out right after like 9/11. So, or well, 2 years after 9/11. So this is probably a little outdated. What would you say for most talkative?
Willow?
I think Willow when she's nervous.
Willow when she's nervous? Not Oz?
Not Oz. He's
inside
like
Oz's head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's most philosophical for sure.
Yeah, no, I think Willow when she's nervous, Cordelia just as being Cordelia. As Vamp Willow is like trapped in a cage and Cordelia's just ranting at her.
She's just like, I want to kill you. How about best hair?
Willow season 4.
I just love Willow's hair in general, and it's definitely because of the like natural color of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Oz does the most to his hair throughout the seasons.
Spike?
His iconic look. His hair is the only one that does not change. The only one. Well, I guess Giles too doesn't really change his hair.
Yep.
It thins out. That's about it.
Yep.
Yeah, Buffy goes through some awkward hair things. Like she had worse bangs this season. Like
during men's terrible bangs.
Pandemic bangs right there. That was bad.
Yeah.
Bad. So there's one in here that unfortunately they will not be able to really get since they blew up the school, which is most likely to work at Sunnydale. I mean, Buffy won't.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say Buffy ends up working as
but it
hell.
but would you think she is the most likely? I think that'd be
No,
Giles, right?
Giles or Willow, because Willow really steps into the teaching role.
I don't think she would be a high school teacher though. Like professor, maybe. At like a research university, I could see. I think she would really enjoy that.
I don't know. I could see her being a high school chemistry teacher. It's a
I
little
think
bit of
she would get
I can
so
do it.
bored. She would get so bored. I could see her maybe doing that when she retired.
Okay, so but I guess as I have grown, I find myself less interested in people being defined by their job
Mhm.
or finding their job as their passion. Like, for some people, having a job is just a steady paycheck while you pursue your other passions. And so Willow's passion is witchcraft. So I could totally see her being the 9 to 5 teacher and then have like casting a spell to grade papers while she's off fighting evil.
I,
Or
s-
writing a computer program to grade her papers for her.
I guess I could see her doing something more with computers than anything. I'm not sure if necessarily. Actually, what I could really see her doing is teaching people who are going back to school, like adults, computer skills. Like, I could really see her getting into that because I think it would also fulfill. She likes doing good, right? Like, and I think it can be hard sometimes dealing with high school students, especially when you know there are worse things going on in the world, like Willow would definitely know. So it might be easier for her to work with adults
Mhm.
mentally. Um, but I could definitely see her teaching because, like, high schoolers don't really need. They've grown up with technology, so they need less help. I mean, not in the 90s, they needed it then, but like adults would need it more so, like older adults.
I could see her teaching a robotics class.
Yeah, I could see that. Her doing like robot wars and just like having so much fun. Xander would be in the stands all the time,
Yep.
cheering her on, being like, "Can I play with it?" Xander might be the student she is teaching things to,
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Um, you know what? Oz would get quietest.
Yeah.
I just saw that as a superlative. Note to self: next time I grab a yearbook, make sure it's a more current one and not the one from when I was a freshman in high school. But yeah, no, I think that those are all of the superlatives for the graduating class of Sunnydale High
Yep.
of 1999 or
I'm
97?
99.
99, yeah.
Yeah.
97 is when this started, never mind.
Yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see these characters. I've seen it, but see it
Mhm.
again. These characters developing and growing, going to university, starting that life, and then also seeing Angel moving away from high school girl to like really going back into the world again.
One of my favorite Angel characters is in and is only in the first Doyle. I love Doyle. So I'm very excited to watch all of the Doyle and Angel shenanigans. Like I love how they play against each other. Um it's so sad. There's a lot of people that were an Angel that are dead now.
No,
Like
no.
Doyle, Lauren, probably somebody else, but those are the two that come to mind. Like the I don't want to jinx what I'm not going to finish the sentence
Okay.
about Buffy.
Don't jinx. Don't jinx.
I emotionally cannot handle the rest of that sentence. So, um, yeah, so I'm very much so looking forward to it, and expanding. It's still the Buffyverse, but
Mhm.
bridging out. And I have to say, like, I have watched seasons 1 through 4 repeatedly. Once we get into 5, I really like slowed. I think it's in 5 that I slowed down. I might have seen, but then I've cherry picked all of the Spike episodes. So
That's season 6.
yeah,
5, yes, but season 6.
yes, but yeah, I definitely cherry picked various Spike things. And same thing, like the season of I've watched the first and last season of Angel the most. Everything else in between is a wash for me.
I'm very excited to move forward with you. Thank you very much for just Jossin with me again.
Oh yes, and we will see you back here next week.
In the Hellmouth.
Oh yeah.
And